Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's update on the Alberta wildfires. We'll begin with remarks from Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services Mike Ellis, followed by updates from Colin Blair from the Alberta Emergency Management Agency and Christy Tucker from Alberta Wildfire. Dr. Laura McDougall from Alberta Health Services is also here to provide an update on air quality. We'll then take your questions. So over to you, Minister.
Thanks very much, Colin, and thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm here today, of course, with Colin Blair of Alberta Emergency Management Agency, Christy Tucker of Alberta Wildfire, Dr. Laura McDougall of Alberta Health Services to provide an update on the Alberta wildfire situation. I want to start by thanking everyone who is working around the clock right now just to protect our communities. From fighting wildfires to welcoming and supporting evacuees, many have stepped up to help battle these blazes and to support everyone who has been impacted. This support is critical to those Albertans who are facing immeasurable stress and uncertainty from these wildfires. Unfortunately, the hot and dry weather continues and the conditions for wildfires remain extremely volatile. The fire danger is extreme in the northern part of Alberta, with hot, dry, windy conditions expected to persist in the coming days. Our number one priority is that we fight these fires and we deal with the extreme fire conditions in order to protect human lives. It's important that we are all doing our part to support these efforts. That includes being mindful of the fire risks that are upcoming this long weekend as temperatures are expected to climb again. It will be critical to avoid any activities that might start new fires or make the current situation worse. Smoke also continues to be an issue affecting air quality and visibility right throughout Alberta. A special air quality statement remains in place for most of the province, with many areas still sitting above 10 on the air quality index. Keep in mind that a number of 10 or higher indicates extremely poor air quality. It's clear that the smoke from these fires continues to be a concern for both health and visibility. In areas of very poor air quality, people should consider staying inside as much as possible. And of course, we have Dr. Laura McDougall from Alberta Health Services who will provide more information on this shortly. As crews continue to battle these blazes, some communities have been mobilizing to evacuate, while other areas have already been evacuated. Since 2023 wildfire season began, approximately 38,000 Albertans have been evacuated from their homes or communities. As of this morning, 19 evacuation orders are in place. In more encouraging news, I was pleased to see that several evacuation orders have now been partially or fully rescinded. These include the town of Drayton Valley, where the order was fully rescinded, Brazeau County, which has partially rescinded its evacuation order, and the County of Grand Prairie, which has also partially rescinded its order. When it comes to reentry, we continue to ask residents to please be patient. Do not return until contacted by your local authority. The staggered reentry will help reduce traffic on highways and allow for safe reentry. Regarding reentry for evacuees from other municipalities, please contact your local authority for information on the current situation. We also ask that those who need to travel, whether because of evacuations or for other reasons, should check with 511 for information on road conditions and closures. For everyone who has evacuated, please know that supports are available. Since the announcement of one-time emergency financial assistance for evacuees, more than 11,200 applications have been processed. More than $16.4 million in e-transfers have been sent to evacuees, and more than $3.9 million in debit cards have been distributed. Debit cards are available for evacuees unable to receive e-transfers at 16 Alberta Support Centre locations with extended hours and at Edmonton and Calgary evacuation centres. Please visit www.alberta.ca/emergency or call 310-4455 for information on supports, including evacuation payments. And if you are struggling with your mental health, please call or text the word info to 211 to be connected to digital or local support services near you. We are putting the resources and funding needed into ensuring that every Albertan affected by this emergency has the supports that they need. In conclusion, I'll be very blunt. This situation does remain very volatile. We must remain vigilant. I thank all Albertans for continuing to do their part to reduce fire risk. Please pay attention to fire bans and reduce any activities that could unintentionally start wildfires, such as the use of off-highway vehicles. And I ask Albertans in the impacted communities to please continue heeding the advice of local officials and obeying any evacuation orders that you may receive. Remember to visit, again, the alberta.ca/emergency for information on how to prepare for evacuation. Albertans are resilient. We will get through this together, and we are here, of course, to support you. So thank you, and I'll now invite Colin Blair from Alberta Emergency Management to provide an update. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start by expressing my sincere gratitude to all the firefighters, emergency responders, incident management personnel, staff, and volunteers who have worked extremely hard to support their communities during this difficult time. Alberta continues to be under a provincial state of emergency, and the Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre remains at level 4. In addition, there are 22 states of local emergency, as well as 5 band council resolutions. 11,990 Albertans remain evacuated at this time, and there are 14 reception centres open for affected areas. The total number of evacuation orders now stands at 19. All residents who are evacuated should register at the nearest reception centre or online. Registering makes it easier to get help and resources to evacuees, and it makes it easier for officials to reach out to residents with important updates and information. So far, more than 18,100 people have registered. Regarding the extent of the structural damage caused by the fires, we have some preliminary information and are fulfilling our responsibility to allow local officials to speak to residents first. We will begin to provide this information in the coming days after communities have re-entered. Our thoughts are with those who have lost their homes or possessions. For those in a community on evacuation alert, the situation can change quickly and an evacuation order could come at any time with little or no warning. Being prepared is key to saving lives. Albertans can find evacuation preparation tips and more information online at alberta.ca/beprepared. Pack an emergency kit that will last for a week or more with essential items like medication, identification, a first aid kit, flashlights, batteries, non-perishable food, cash, and clothing. This kit should be kept in an accessible location, ready to go at a moment's notice. We also urge people to have a plan to stay in touch with loved ones, as well as a plan for their pets. Alberta SPCA peace officers can assist with pets and can be reached at 1-800-455-9003. Evacuated farmers and ranchers should call the Wildlife Resource Line at 310-4455 with questions regarding livestock. To protect yourself and others, stay informed. The best way to receive the latest wildfire information is by downloading the Alberta Emergency Alert app. Everyone in potentially impacted communities should pay attention to emergency alerts and listen to local news updates. And please make sure the information is from trusted and verified sources. In addition to downloading the Alberta Emergency Alert app, follow your local authorities' social media accounts and other notification messages. As we head into the May long weekend, most of Alberta is under a fire ban. Obey these bans and follow restrictions to reduce the chance of starting new wildfires and avoid further stressing firefighting resources. Finally, I want to remind evacuees that we do have a nightly telephone town hall they can join. The calls begin at 7:30 p.m. and provide a great opportunity for evacuees to get the information they need. You can join the town hall by calling 1-833-380-0691. Thank you, and I will now turn things over to Christy from Alberta Wildfire for more information on the provincial wildfire situation.
Thank you, Colin. There are 91 wildfires in the forest protection area of Alberta. 27 of those are out of control. So far this year, we've responded to 485 wildfires, burning more than 728,000 hectares. The latest wildfire information is always available on our interactive map or on the Wildfire Status app. We have seen the area burned rise since yesterday. That's in part because many of the wildfires on the landscape did see some growth, and we were better able to assess their size. Smoky conditions can make it difficult to fly over wildfires, which can mean sometimes it takes longer for us to get an assessment. Winds have weakened today across most of the province, and temperatures are near normal for this time of year, but things will start to change tomorrow. It will get hotter and drier as we head to the weekend, and as we've seen, that can lead to more active wildfire behavior. Unfortunately, it was reported yesterday that a firefighter was injured while working on a wildfire. I can confirm that firefighter has been seriously injured in the area of East Prairie Métis settlement. News like this is felt by every firefighter, and our hearts sincerely go out to his family. This is a reminder to all of us about the challenges faced by firefighters and the risks involved with wildfire. While some evacuated Albertans have begun going home, we all need to remember that this situation is volatile. For those returning residents, please remember that we still have active wildfires on the landscape. If you see firefighters in your area, give them the space to work and keep a safe distance. As always, the safety of Albertans is our top priority. Dr. Laura McDougall, the Senior Medical Officer of Health from Alberta Health Services, is now available to provide remarks regarding the air quality situation we're currently experiencing in parts of the province.
Thank you, Christy. For weeks now, wildfires burning across the province have been on the minds of Albertans. We've kept those who've been evacuated from their homes and communities in our thoughts, and we've shared our gratitude for those who are assisting with fighting the fires and working behind the scenes on the emergency response. Thank you to everyone who stepped up in any way to support this work. Given the number of wildfires burning and the vast area they cover, it's no surprise that wildfire smoke has settled in many parts of the province. With the right wind conditions, smoke particles can travel literally thousands of kilometers and accumulate in high concentrations, resulting in poor air quality potentially far and wide. You might not realize just how much the smoke is impacting you or your loved ones. You may be experiencing symptoms such as general fatigue, throat or eye irritation, coughing, wheezing, headaches, or shortness of breath. Poor air quality is more likely to negatively impact individuals with respiratory conditions such as COPD or asthma, and individuals with cardiovascular conditions such as angina or a previous heart attack. Children and the elderly are also more likely to experience more serious health effects at lower levels. Those who are at higher risk are encouraged to monitor their symptoms and take any precautions as recommended by their physician. I would ask you all to think about the people you know who might be at higher risk and check in on them. There are things we can do to limit our exposure and reduce symptoms. Look at ways within your home to reduce the circulation of outdoor air. As long as temperatures remain comfortable, close all windows and outside doors, and turn down furnace thermostats and furnace fans to the minimum setting. Reduce your level of physical activity as needed, and consider rescheduling outdoor activities. For those who are unhoused or required to be outside for extended periods, please consider taking breaks indoors at community public spaces if that's an option. For everyone, it can also help to drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. You can find out more about specific precautions and advice online at www.ahs.ca/wildfires. Air quality will vary day to day and can be very different from one community to the next. Stay up to date by checking local weather or looking up your community on the government's Air Quality Health Index page. If you are experiencing symptoms and have questions or concerns, you can speak with a registered nurse by calling HealthLink at 811. Calls are toll-free, and HealthLink is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please stay safe and up to date on all wildfire information, including any precautionary actions you can take. Take care of yourself and each other, and thank you.
All right, thank you. We do not have any media in the room, so we're going to go to the phone lines first. Just a reminder to hit *1 if you'd like to queue in to ask a question. So, operator, could you please put through the first caller?
Nicole Weiberg, CTV.
Nicole, your line might be muted.
Oh, hey, sorry. I just wanted to ask about resources again. I know this has been addressed, but with the situations getting worse in surrounding provinces like BC, do you believe there could be sort of a fight for firefighting resources, out-of-province resources? Are you worried at all about that happening?
Thanks for the question. No, we are aware of, obviously, the conditions heating up in certain parts of the country. As we know, the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre coordinates resources coming from across the country. Additionally, we have agreements in place with other countries as well, and we have been able to take advantage of that. Certainly, we're aware and we expect resources to move around as demand increases. But if Canada is heating up across the country, and at the moment it's localized to specific areas, there are opportunities to look elsewhere. And we have agreements, and we've had firefighters come in the past from countries such as Australia and South Africa and Mexico. And these agreements exist because we know that these firefighters are trained and equipped and are able to operate at the level that we expect here in Alberta.
Do you have a follow-up question, Nicole?
As a follow-up to that, I mean, obviously, I'm not sure how many resources there are right now and how this is compared to past bad wildfire years, but we know we've talked about this being unprecedented. I mean, how long, I guess, can these resources last at this level?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, Nicole, to compare with previous seasons. Certainly, I can tell you, in my experience, this is the most that I've seen coming in. And we have, at the moment, nearly 1,000 firefighters from outside of Alberta here working in the province. We have requests out for more, and we expect that those requests can keep going. When firefighters come to Alberta to fight fire, we have a set amount of time that firefighters can work in an optimal capacity, and those rotate out. So we have to plan weeks ahead to ensure that our firefighters are getting enough of a chance to reset their clock, and we bring in fresh teams as needed. And that is something, particularly if we're going to partners in other parts of the world where they experience wildfire season at very different times of year. We will have the opportunity to bring in fresh resources who are able to allow all firefighters here in Alberta and outside resources to ensure that they are fresh and able to keep fighting fire for as long as we need to.
Okay, operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Alana Smith, Globe and Mail.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. My question is also for Christy. I'm wondering if you can provide any more details of the circumstances of the injury of the firefighter you mentioned earlier, and whether or not he's in stable or life-threatening conditions.
Unfortunately, I will let his family speak to his condition specifically. Out of respect for his privacy and that of his family, it would be inappropriate for me to share any more specific details. But certainly, we're watching his condition closely, and it is something that we're all paying very close attention to.
Do you have a follow-up question, Alana?
I do, thank you. Are there any details you can provide us just in the sense of was he or she the only firefighter that was injured in this situation? Was there anybody else at risk? And I also read, I think CTV reported that there were some firefighters that may have suffered minor injuries in Drayton Valley. Do you have any details on those?
I don't have any specific details that I can share at this time. I know there are a lot of firefighters working across the province, and as we've seen, there are obviously risks to this profession. It is something that that people are aware of. They have safety training, they have safety certificates, and we prioritize the safety of firefighters very, very highly. So we're all part of the same firefighting family, and nobody wants to see an injury, particularly a bad injury. But no, I have no further details on any other injuries that I can share right now. They may have been firefighters working with the county, or they may have been firefighters with Alberta Wildfire. There are a lot of folks out there working very hard right now all together.
Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Arthur Green, Western Standard.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. My previous question, which was answered, but I have another one. It's from Mr. Ellis. This morning, I received a release from the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees that said a desperate call for public servants to volunteer for wildfire fighting relief proves that Alberta's next government must restore funding for these vital services. Can I just have your comments on this claim by the union?
Well, Arthur, thank you very much for the question. I mean, here's what I will say. This is an unprecedented situation. I know this has already been mentioned. We have to continue to mention this. These are a series of fires in Alberta like we have not seen before in recent memory, or at least none that has been brought to my attention. So as Christy had indicated, and we were working through the coordination center for firefighters to make sure that we have resources nationally, internationally, but essentially it's all hands on deck, right? And so that's why, we're putting the request out to anyone and everyone who may have some firefighting skills that we can assess, and hopefully we can try to help out in situations that might require some additional resources. And that's why we put these sort of requests out. I can tell you, though, Arthur, that I have been in contact with Cody McIntyre, the president of the Alberta Professional Firefighters and Paramedics Association, just to let him know that certainly for those who are volunteer firefighters in these unprecedented situations, as we know some of our smaller communities certainly have volunteer firefighters that are out there right now, to let them know that we're there for them, and I can tell you that the lines of communication remain open, and it's a very positive relationship I have with Cody McIntyre.
And Arthur, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of a blunt question. I know we saw how many fires are burning right now. Should Albertans be scared right now? Well,
I mean, Arthur, I don't know if I'd use that word that you used, but I think that Albertans need to be on alert. These are unprecedented, and that's why we say in whether it be my notes or Christy's notes or Colin's notes, we make sure that we have people that remain in constant contact and communication with their local municipalities to provide direction and advice what to do. As we know, fire is unpredictable, and it moves as the wind moves, and we have to be cognizant of that. And we're doing what we can. Let me just say this as well to all the firefighters that are out there right now. Thank you, and God bless you. What you're doing right now is a dangerous job, and on behalf of the people of Alberta, thank you for everything that you are doing right now.
Great. Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Tracy Nagy, Global News.
Hi there. We have received a memo of a group of Calgary fire department firefighters that went up to Grand Prairie. They have actually been told that they are being able to go home as of tomorrow morning, and that the province has indicated that the Calgary Fire Department is not required to deploy elsewhere. Just wondering, considering the situation being described as volatile, why this is happening.
I don't know if Christy can answer that question, or possibly Colin.
Minister, I'll give that a shot. I don't know the exact details of that. We do look to each municipality, First Nation, Métis settlement to do what they have to within boundaries. There is likely an opportunity for people to rotate in and out, but we can follow up through the Emergency Coordination Center with more information on that.
Do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, some of the comments that we had heard from firefighters was that there was some issues in regards to who would be footing the bill for this additional support. Just wondering if you might be able to clarify or explain that.
Yes. So for the local authorities, we do ask local authorities to track all expenditures that are associated with the extraordinary response costs. Across government, each department is responsible for doing the same. So this is something that we would look to the local authority to do for any type of service or support that they receive to respond to this event.
Okay. Operator, could you please put through the next caller?
Kelly Malone, Canadian Press.
This question is for Dr. Laura McDougall. Research out of the U.S. shows that masks, especially N95, do help protect against wildfire smoke while outside, and that other masks may provide some benefits too. That's also consistent with BC's advice, but Alberta's guidance on the wildfire health page of the website downplays masks. So do you recommend people wear masks while outside?
Thanks. That's a really excellent question. And I think, like all other aspects of air quality, when we think about what are the steps that we need to do to protect ourselves, it really is thinking about all of those layers, and possibly a respirator being one of them, but probably not the most important one. When we're thinking about, again, trying to stay away from outdoor air as much as possible, staying indoors is the place to start, and all of those mechanisms that we spoke about trying to ensure the purity of the air within those indoor spaces is really important. Reducing the amount of time we spend outdoors and the amount of physical activity while we're outside is important, as well as hydration, as we mentioned. There's no doubt that a very well-fitted and high-quality respirator does provide some degree of protection against the particulate matter that's present in wildfire smoke. It doesn't protect against the gases and the toxic vapors that come from fires, but in terms of actually being able to provide a degree of protection from the particles, there is something there. The issue is, however, that the respirators need to be, as I said, high quality, but the most important thing is that they have to be extremely well fitted. And we know, and the evidence that really looks at how respirators work, it's under the conditions where people are fit tested, where the right type of mask of respirator is selected for their face type, and where they're actually properly fitted to the structure of the face. And then field tested as we go forward and field tested with every use. So under those circumstances, for people who have high-functioning cardiovascular systems, respirators can make a difference. So some of the issues really are that it's not easy always to find the right shape and to have them well-fitted. And the other issue is that the people who really need to be protected from the particulate matter the most, people with compromised cardiovascular or respiratory systems, often can't tolerate a very well-fitted mask because it does reduce airflow in and out. So back to the first point, there are some challenges with them, and the first principles are probably the most important ones.
And do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, and this is probably for Christy Tucker. You describe a dire situation with hotter and drier temperatures for this weekend. So how are resources being changed or moved, especially considering Drayton Valley is no longer considered out of control?
We have to be agile in moving resources around the province, regardless of what kind of conditions we're looking at. We have to ensure crews are positioned exactly where we expect they will be needed, and that our aircraft and crews are ready to go in the short distance to travel if and when a wildfire starts or an existing fire shows extreme activity. So something certainly that we are doing is moving resources on a constant basis. We are also asking Albertans to play their part and ensure that they respect the fire bans and fire restrictions and off-highway vehicle restrictions that are in place across the province to avoid any new wildfires from starting. So we know where we expect to see wind, where we expect to see more elevated activity, and we're able to ensure that crews are positioned correctly in order to tackle those.
Great, and we have one more caller on the line, so operator, could you please put through the final caller?
Kevin Orland, Bloomberg.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. This question is for Christy Tucker. You've mentioned so far that this has been an unusually active fire season in Alberta. Just for context, when do you consider the fire season typically to start? What's the most active time in the fire season in a typical year, and why has this one been so active so early?
Thank you for that. The legislated start of wildfire season is March 1st, and we have the earliest start of wildfire season of anywhere in Canada. In part, that came as a result of the Horse River wildfire in Fort McMurray in 2016. And as a review after that wildfire, we decided to start wildfire season a month early to ensure that we can have our firefighters trained and in place by the time the conditions start really heating up. This year was unusually early as a start time. We started seeing serious wildfire activity at the end of April, which is early for us. That wildfire at Fort McMurray started in the first week of May, many years ago in 2016. And it is a particularly early time, and it's a very volatile time traditionally, but not usually this volatile. It's a time between when the snow melts and evaporates, and the grasses and trees haven't turned green yet. So what the wildfire uses as fuel is very dry, and it can be ready to ignite. Traditionally, what we don't see is the kind of hot, dry conditions that we saw at the end of April, early May. That was really unusual, and that in part contributed to the activity we saw. Certainly the intense winds that we saw at the same time really helped exacerbate some of the wildfires that were already out there on the landscape. Traditionally, one of our most high activity weekends for wildfires is still coming up ahead of us. The May long weekend tends to be when Albertans go out into the woods. They are, enjoying the warm weather that's just started. They're going camping. They're going out recreationally into the woods, and that is why we usually ensure that all of our resources are in place and ready to go for the May long weekend. That activity happened earlier this year, and we certainly saw a lot more hot weather and the kind of conditions that led to that extreme wildfire activity.
And do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, and thank you for that very detailed response. How high is the fire risk near Fort McMurray specifically right now?
We have a lot of public information available on our website. I think generally across the province, we have seen those areas that are in the high to extreme wildfire danger zone. I believe the Fort McMurray area today did receive a small amount of precipitation in the corner, but if you want exact details, I would recommend you look at Wildfire Predictive Services on the Alberta Wildfire website. There's all sorts of public information available for people who are interested in what the conditions are like where they are.
Perfect. That's all the time we have today. Please note a media situation report will be distributed over the wire later today, and there'll be another update tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thanks, everyone.